Hello there, my name is Karen Shaffer.
And Austin Shaffer.
Come join us by the fire for tonight's chilling story, King Rex.
In the small, sleepy town of Medfield, it was nighttime. There was a full moon, and it was Halloween 1756. It was cool out, and the old maples dropped their leaves suddenly in the wind, rustling in every direction. Nearby, the Charles River was dark, floating along, full of shiners, bluegill, and bass. The very full and golden harvest moon seemed to watch the townsfolk through the swaying pine branches. The few townsfolk not slumbering and still socializing were at the Clark Tavern, sharing stories and details about their recent days while drinking cider from Dedham orchards or a dark porter brewed by Seth. In a dark corner of the Clark sat Rex Blake, the local cabinet maker and locksmith, drinking rum and still quietly grieving for his great-grandmother Sarah. Sarah had mysteriously died many years ago, and even as a grown man, he still sorely, deeply missed her sweet kindness and the molasses cookies she made special for him. She had always made him feel so special and so loved. All those years ago, Sarah was sewing socks near her fireplace. On a cold February morning, there was an unexpected and loud growl outside her door. Rarely was Sarah alone, but since Benjamin had gone to help the minister, she was alone this still winter morning. This area of Medfield was called Nantasket by the local families, and it was known to have wolves nearby. To hear a growl during the day certainly foretold of a sick wolf, menacing, but she was safely and comfortably indoors.
As Sarah walked to the sooty window, she instead saw a tall man wearing a long black coat. It had not been a rabid wolf after all. She opened the door and invited the stranger in on that cold, quiet day. When Benjamin returned that night, his home had been almost burned to the ground, and Sarah's body lay in front of what remained of their front door, as if she'd fallen back, bumped her head, and slept while their home burned around her. Blake still blamed himself for not being there with Sarah that morning, even though he was a mere child of 11 and had been dutifully attending North Schoolhouse, where Mr. Wheelock still taught. That night at the Clark, something snapped in Rex's broken-hearted, tired mind. He could no longer carry the weight of the guilt and the grief. He left the Clark, retrieved his wild-looking dogs, and walked quietly down the dirt roads of town, calling out for any children not at home to get home to their families, where they might live to regret it. Ever since that cold Halloween, children walking alone at night have sometimes reported hearing wolves or coyotes howl and glimpsed a tall man with a gray beard and a long black coat walking quickly after them. On full moon Halloween nights, which only occur every 18 or 19 years, some folks say Rex Blake wears a black metal crown he blacksmithed himself, and he leads a pack of wolves looking for wild children who really should be home. It's rumored that Mr. Nathaniel left the middle school late on the full moon night of Halloween in 2020 and saw a dark figure in a long coat slowly following him to his car. Mr. Nathaniel made casual conversation with the figure about the wild-looking dogs. Could they be wolves, he wondered? And he said, "They look pretty wild, sir. Be careful." The wolves and the man seemed to immediately disappear into the shadows before Mr. Nathaniel even had wished him a happy Halloween. Early the next morning, as Mrs. Syracuse left her parked car at the Kingsbury Club to work out, she looked up to marvel at the setting, now golden, pre-sunrise full moon. She looked to the woods towards the old state hospital grounds and saw a man feeding what looked like a pack of wolves. She shouted over to him, "Hey, be careful. There's a lot more of them than there is of you." And he turned his sad, lonesome expression to her. Mrs. Syracuse's own expression now became worried and confused as she realized his attire looked really very old. The old man whispered, "Sarah," and started slowly walking towards her, when he suddenly heard the voice of children waiting for a bus or speaking to their parents, and walked towards that sound as the sun rose and he walked into the woods. Thank you for joining us by the campfire and listening to our story of King Rex. We hope you enjoyed it, and be careful when you walk under full moon nights all by yourself.